What's up everyone, this is the Mr. Snook channel. A while back I posted a bunch of videos with 30 fun facts about GTA 5 missions and you guys really liked them. In today's video I'm gonna do a recap of all those videos so you can catch up on everything. I won't waste too much time with the intro, so smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it. The first curiosity that I'm going to be showing you is the Prologue. And it already has several curiosities by itself. Going here to the left into the maintenance room or Silverland, we see that this door would have been used in the beta version. Not exactly this door, but this room, and for some very strange reason Rockstar ended up removing it. However, with the help of a no-clip mod, you can enter and see that the scenario inside is very complete with cameras and everything. You can tell Rockstar invested time here, and it's curious to think about what this would have been used for. The second thing here is that the heist very likely happened close to Christmas. Besides us being able to see a tree here and several Christmas lights not just in the bank but in some parts of the city, we can also see some little cards with messages referring to Christmas. I'm sure you didn't notice this. The third thing is the following: the cops are not very smart here in this mission. In reality, they're kind of dumb. Their mechanics, their functionality are kind of broken, and the only way they'll go after you is if you shoot at them. If not, just stop the car in front of them and they'll stay there doing nothing. It's honestly pretty funny, guys. The fourth thing is that there is an alien frozen under the bridge. You just need to come here and take a quick look. You have to be quick because the mission will fail, but no problem, you just restart where you left off. And arriving here, guys, you'll see a frozen alien. Everyone knows that Brad ends up dying right at the beginning of the game, but actually the shot he takes was meant for Trevor. At the moment Dave takes the shot, Brad unknowingly passes in front and ends up getting hit in the chest instead of Trevor. The initial idea Michael had was to kill Trevor since he is stronger and much more vengeful than Brad. In the mission Franklin and Lamar, when we arrive to steal those two vehicles at the beginning of the game, if for some reason you don't drive off right away, you'll see that the owner of the vehicle will show up to fight with you for stealing his car. Then you can hit the guy or not, no problem, the mission doesn't fail. But this is a detail that most people didn't notice. Another thing here is that when we pass by the movie studio, you can see several humans dressed as aliens, and that's fine. The weird thing is that they look exactly like the alien frozen under the bridge in the first mission. I just keep wondering how they know exactly what the aliens look like. Another thing is that it's almost impossible to beat Lamar during the race that happens in the second mission of the game. However, there's an easy trick to overtake Lamar at the end of the race. When he's entering that part after leaving the parking lot, just take a right and drive straight under the FIB and Union Depository buildings. That way you'll pass him quickly, even if you're behind during the entire race, where the game is clearly cheating, making Lamar hit like 500 miles per hour. In the mission where we go to retrieve a motorcycle in Vagos territory, there's an old guy talking about someone called Lord Zaffo. Apparently this Lord Zaffo is supposed to be some kind of god who helped with the development of human agriculture and other things.
I think this crazy motherfucker wants something. Hey, what's up, homie? You alright?
No, wait from me! We're for Zaffo agents!
Yeah, you thought I was gonna hit your bitch ass, huh? Drunk ass nigga.
What's crazy is that Ron, Trevor's friend, seems to be a follower of this, because he talks a lot about Lord Zaffo on the game's radio stations. It's really wild. Another very interesting thing is that after you shoot the vehicle and it explodes, you can simply go to the right and you'll catch the guy riding the motorcycle as he passes. This way you don't need to keep chasing him around, just turn right, wait for him to come out, shoot him, and steal the motorcycle with no hassle. It's super easy. Another cool and interesting thing is that we can't buy the personal vehicles of the main characters. However, in the mission complications, we can grab a car that's basically identical to Michael's personal car in the game. This option doesn't exist for the other characters. I honestly don't see any reason why Rockstar didn't allow us to do this, but it's definitely something to think about. Another interesting thing here is that when you go to Michael's house, Jimmy isn't actually playing the game that appears on the TV. It's just a trailer. If you take out your phone, go online and search for R. Slater or something like that, you'll see the exact same trailer that's playing, showing what Jimmy is supposedly playing. Plus, if you use a silenced weapon and shoot the TV, it will stop working, but Jimmy will still act like he's playing normally. This is different from when you shoot other electronics in the house, because in those cases, Jimmy realizes what happened. And if, in this same scene, you listen to the conversation Tracy is having with her friend, you'll notice something pretty messed up. Jimmy has apparently jerked off thinking about some of Tracy's friends. Tracy says this while cracking up laughing during her conversation with her friend. Check it out for yourself.
Oh my god, seriously? My brother is such a homo. I think he has a medical problem. Like more medical problems than the ones he's already been diagnosed with. Mental ones. Seriously. Penises are not meant to be that small. I'd fucking know, right? I've seen enough of them. It's probably because he's so fat. I still love him though, sort of. Well, the other day, I walked in on him and he was jerking off over pictures of my friends. No, not you. The hot ones, Lauren and Lisa. No, I didn't mean it like that. You're beautiful and interesting. It's just that, you know, guys they just don't get you. Hello? Hello? Fuck. Whatever. Bitch.
If you take Michael to another location after he ambushes you during the Repossession mission, there's a scene where Michael calls you an idiot and even hits you in the head with a gun. A lot of people miss this, so check it out.
Shit, man, with traffic and all, this way is fast.
Don't move, kid.
After finishing the mission, you can still have a special dialogue with Michael if you find him on the street at some point. In this conversation, they kind of apologize to each other and even agree to grab a drink together.
Hey, man. Weird seeing you here. Oh, hey. Look, I'm sorry you got in trouble with the boss.
You know, I'm sorry I broke into your house.
Yeah, you're sorry you got caught.
Nah, actually I ain't. You know, one door closes and that shit.
All right, I'll tell you what, let's have a beer sometime.
Yeah, for sure, dog. I'll look you up.
And if by chance they meet again, a new dialogue will play, but it's much shorter.
Hey, Mike, you stalking me or what?
You're cute.
Hey, man, I was just on the way to handle some stuff.
I'm just...
Maybe I'll see you later, all right?
Who you calling a bitch?
See you soon then, man.
In the marriage counseling mission, we chase the tennis coach using a car that supposedly belongs to a contractor working on Michael's house. The strange thing is this. If you look closely, you'll see McGill Olson Construction written on the side of the vehicle. This raises the possibility that this contractor might actually be an FIB spy. This theory holds up because in the Three's Company mission, where we save Mr. K from the IAA building, they use a van with the same McGill Olson logo to transport Mr. K. So the guy could just be a regular contractor, but it's also possible he was spying on Michael because of the deal he already had with the FIB earlier. Another interesting detail is this. In the mission where we have to catch D, who speeds away on a bike, Lamar comments on Franklin's special ability.
Come on, homie, concentrate on the road. We heavier, use that momentum and shit.
What's curious is that Lamar is the only person in the game who talks about the special abilities of the characters since he mentions them in a few scenes. In that same mission, we use Chop to track down D, but along the way, Chop stops for a moment to pay attention to a female dog off to the side. I don't even know who this dog is, but anyway, if you kill her, the mission doesn't fail. This is actually used as a speedrunning technique by many players because it saves a lot of time. Normally, you'd have to wait for Chop to finish, watch the cutscene, and continue the mission, which can take forever and gets annoying. Another curiosity happens during the father-son mission. If you start throwing Molotov cocktails at the boat while Franklin and Jimmy are still on it, even if you hit them and they catch fire or fall off the yacht, they won't be affected. They'll simply reappear in their original positions without any damage. This likely happens because during the mission, you're supposed to shoot at the boat, and this could accidentally kill the characters. So Rockstar added a temporary invincibility mechanic to prevent the mission from failing too quickly. It's a pretty clever design choice. This mission is also the only one where you can fit 3 people into a 2-door car. This happens because instead of Jimmy getting into the car normally through the non-existent rear doors, he just falls over and lands directly in the back seat. It's something that makes me wonder why this isn't a regular mechanic in GTA 5. Another interesting thing is this. If you fail to pick up Franklin after saving Jimmy in the mission, a secret cutscene will play where Michael gives Jimmy a massive scolding.
Ah, Dad, don't be all butthurt. At least you got me out of there.
You listen to me, you little shit. That kid just jumped off the hood of a moving car to save your ass, and now he's gone. And so's my boat!
Now, if you pick up Franklin and somehow use a mod to reach the boat before it escapes, either with a turbo mod or no clip like I used, you'll notice something curious. The truck pulling the boat accelerates absurdly fast, almost impossibly so. After a while, the truck simply disappears. The boat keeps moving on its own as if dragged by some supernatural force. After a few minutes, it stops at a specific point on the map, and if you look away and then back at it, the boat will have already disappeared and the mission will auto-complete. This proves that it's impossible to catch the truck or stop the boat from following its route. At the end of the mission, when we need to repair Amanda's car, if you start tuning the vehicle, Jimmy makes some really funny comments about his mom. He says absurd things, like Amanda using the car to pick up younger guys or going after adventures. It's complete nonsense. I'll show the cutscene.
My mom always says she wants some more, aggressive lines on this thing. Toy boys gonna flock to my mama in this ride. My mama's car had almost as much work as my mama. Power equals pussy. Or maybe penis, in my mom's case.
During the Daddy's Little Girl mission, we have to take Jimmy to the bike rental shop to rent a bike and continue the mission. An interesting detail is that if you drive recklessly, Jimmy starts complaining and yelling at you, spouting several funny lines.
Yeah, my jam. You're driving like a psychopath, Michael. Do you realize that? Or are you so high on your own outmoded sense of masculinity that you think this is normal?
Shut your pie hole. I think we'll both be happier if we can spend as little time in this vehicle as possible.
God, you think I've got learning difficulties, huh? Take a good long look in the mirror, pal. I'm not the one who doesn't respect my fellow human beings.
No, not unless they're a spick, or a Jew boy, or an ass-munching homo.
Oh.
Plus, here's something most people missed. If you pay close attention to the rental shop attendant's t-shirt, you'll see it has a wallpaper of John Marston, the protagonist of Red Dead Redemption. This is a clear Rockstar Games reference to Red Dead 1, as it's the exact same wallpaper used on the game cover and in various promotional images on the internet. Another cool point is that after rescuing Tracy on the yacht, we need to escape the goons through the Vespucci beach canals. However, this isn't mandatory. You can stop the jet ski and simply kill the two pursuers. Of course, Tracy will get furious, complaining about how you killed them and how awful it is.
Daddy, you just killed him!
Maybe he's just injured.
You killed them! Oh my god, this isn't happening!
Take a deep breath.
If you choose not to kill them, you'll see some posts on Life Invader made by the two about the incident. In the friend request mission, we need to buy a new outfit before invading Life Invader. What many people don't know is that if you return to the clothing store after completing the mission, this doesn't work when replaying it, there's an additional dialogue. The store clerk asks Michael how the interview went, and a really interesting and funny conversation happens about what went down.
How did the interview go?
What? Oh, yeah. That didn't work out so good. I don't think my air guitar was good enough.
It must be awful having to beg for an entry-level job at your age. I'd say you could get a job here, but they literally don't employ anyone over 25, and nobody overweight. It makes me so sad and depressed for my own future. Do you have kids?
I got a son and a daughter. Not that much younger than you.
It's them it's the hardest on. Our generation was promised so much.
Right.
I don't know why I even bother. I barely make enough to buy weed, let alone pay.
This extra detail highlights Rockstar's attention to small interactions in the game. Another interesting thing still in this mission is that when you're upstairs in the Life Invader office, you can see Jay Norris sitting at one end of the table as if he's participating in a meeting before the big announcement of the company's mobile device. Even though it looks like a live event, the Life Invader broadcast is actually pre-recorded. This becomes clear if you go to the location where the event is supposedly happening. When you get there, you'll see that no one is present. The decorations aren't set up, and Jay Norris isn't there either. This confirms it's not live, as it would be impossible for him to arrive there before you, especially if you flew directly by helicopter. Another curiosity is that if you don't call Jay Norris during the crucial moment of the mission, it will fail. The reason is that Jay Norris was already expecting a call, but obviously not from you, rather from his team. If you don't make the call, he'll comment about the delay, and the mission will be marked as failed.
At around this point in my presentation, there was meant to be a call from my product team to introduce the device. But we're experiencing some technical difficulties. I hate to keep you waiting any longer, but trust me, it's worth it. And don't worry, I will fire several people for this.
In the mission Casing the Jewel Store, Lester makes a reference to Niko Bellic, mentioning a European thief who used to operate in Liberty City, but has now disappeared. He also talks about the McCreary family, stating that most of the crazy Irish crew have vanished, which is quite strange if you think about it.
We're gonna need a crew. I can round up some of the old guys.
There are no old guys. Moses, ironically, he found Jesus. All those Irish crazies, they mostly just disappeared. That crew from the south, they all went down. There was an Eastern European guy making moves in Liberty City, but he went quiet.
Lester even mentions the GTA Online protagonist, calling them unpredictable and explaining that's why he doesn't choose them for any heists. During the drive, Lester reveals to Michael that he's aware of the entire scheme he pulled off. Lester has been keeping an eye on the monthly payments Michael made to David Norton, highlighting the unusual witness protection deal Michael arranged that allowed David Norton to take credit for killing Michael.
Teams do. Your FIB buddies, they know you're back in business?
FIB buddies? What are you talking about?
I checked out the WPP thing. Doesn't look like any WITSEC program I'm aware of. Well, for starters, they don't put witnesses up in multi-million-dollar mansions in Rockford Hills.
Well, maybe they thought this would be the best cover.
And most witnesses don't transfer five-figure sums into a particular FIB agent's bank account every month. Of course, the money gets moved around and washed through a number of fronts, but the trail is there. Deposits and withdrawals, the same sum every month. Agent Dave Norton, white middle-aged divorcee, unremarkable career, except for one incident, the shooting of a notorious stick-up man, Michael Townley.
Yeah, all right. Lester, I'm very impressed.
On the way back from scouting the jewelry store, Michael mentions Franklin to Lester, describing him as almost professional. Lester replies, "Your call, it's your funeral."
There's this kid who's been helping me. Maybe we could cut him in.
I don't work with amateurs.
He ain't an amateur. Or if he is, he's a gifted amateur about to turn pro. He's a good kid, Lester.
You know what they say, it's your funeral. One of them, at least.
Ironically, if you choose ending B, it's Franklin who ultimately causes Michael's funeral. Moving on to the jewel store job, if you pick the cheapest crew for the heist, Michael gets noticeably frustrated and complains to Franklin about hiring amateurs, saying he's doing it because he needs money.
Hey, so you made savings on the personnel, huh?
Yeah, well, I figure they're on Lester's list of potentials. They can't be that bad.
Sure, man. What could go wrong?
Cheap hacker, cheap driver, cheap gunman. Pretty much everything could go wrong.
We got this, man. Don't worry.
Great! The novice is reassuring me. Oh, brother.
On the flip side, if you select the most expensive team, Michael grumbles about how much of the cut he has to give away, justifying it by saying he's rusty and didn't want to take any chances. Even so, he finds it ridiculous how much the top-tier crew charges for their expertise.
They got money and their freedom on the line.
I ain't gonna fuck this up, man.
Good. I got enough shit to worry about.
What you got to worry about?
I don't know. I ain't done any real work in years, so I'm giving half the take to guys who are supposed to be the best in the business.
All right, then it's all taken care of. You on top of shit.
Yeah, do I need to give 12% to a gunman? 14% to a driver? 15% to a hacker? And that's on top of all the other outlays. I feel like a chump buying myself a score.
Shit. I guess we'll find out if they worth it, right?
The jewel store job is the only heist where you don't necessarily have to kill anyone. At most, you might take out a few patrol officers, but it's optional. If you're skilled enough, you can finish the mission quickly without much resistance. This heist is also one of the most forgiving parts of the game, where the mechanics seem to cheat to ensure you succeed. For example, the truck Michael drives during the escape is unusually tough. Just tapping into police cars completely disables them, which is far from realistic. If you manage to lose the cops, you can roam freely and even return to the jewelry store to explore. However, the store will be fully repaired and you won't be able to rob it again. If this were possible, it would have been the best money glitch in the game with endless jewels to collect. But Rockstar, of course, was smart enough to prevent that. Now let's move on to the mission Mr. Phillips. The real reason Trevor kills Johnny Klebitz is because Johnny calls him a motherfucker. This phrase is a clear kill trigger for Trevor. You can see this pattern in Trevor's side missions, where people insulting him in similar terms often leads to him going on a killing spree. Johnny's death marks the second death of a protagonist in the GTA series, and is the first time we see one protagonist kill another. After Johnny's death, you have an irregular option to kill Ashley, Johnny's girlfriend. This can only be done using explosives or by running her over at the very start of the mission. If you kill her, the game suggests burying her in the desert to avoid witnesses and a confrontation with the lost MC. However, if you spare Ashley, she still ends up dying later from an overdose in a bizarre situation involving other characters. Either way, Ashley's fate is sealed, which is why some players prefer to end her story right at the beginning. During this same mission, you have to take out some bikers later on. Interestingly, if you manage to kill the driver of the van heading toward the Lost MC's camp, the van will still follow its predetermined route as if nothing happened. After starting the mission, Mr. Phillips, Michael, and Franklin become temporarily unavailable since they're lying low after the jewelry store heist. Strangely enough, this only happens after the jewel store job and not after any other heists in the game. In the Japanese version of the game, the scene where Trevor is having relations with Ashley at the beginning of the mission doesn't exist. Instead, it cuts straight to the part where Trevor is watching TV and hears Michael's classic line, realizing that he's still alive. In the mission Nervous Ron, when you arrive at Amu Nation, the clerk tells Trevor to take whatever he wants because he doesn't want another fire. Imagine the kind of chaos Trevor must have already caused there.
Melvin! How you feel about brand synergy, huh? TP Industries, Ammunition. Good, because you're about to make a corporate gift of a rifle, a high-powered scope, and a suppressor.
Take whatever you want, Trevor. I can't afford another fire.
Interestingly, in the beta version of the game, the original plan was to take over the Angels of Death's airport, but for some reason, they were replaced with the Lost MC in the final version. In the mission Trevor Phillips Industries, when you're driving to the meth lab with Mr. Cheng and his assistant, if you play electronic music on the radio, Tao Cheng starts dancing in the car. If you switch the station, he immediately stops and you can repeat this over and over. It's fun. If you didn't kill Ortega in the previous mission, he'll be the one coming after you during this mission. On the other hand, if Ortega is already dead, the Aztecas will show up for revenge. Interestingly, if Ortega attacks and you take too long to react, in case you didn't kill him, Chiefs might end up killing him, but he'll still praise Trevor as if he were the one who took care of it. Regardless, in this mission, Ortega must be killed. The game won't allow him to escape, likely to prevent future revenge plots. If you already have a grenade launcher in your inventory when replaying the mission, the cutscene where the Chief hands the weapon to Trevor won't play, as the game recognizes you already have it. In Crystal Maze, if you try calling a taxi, you'll be informed that no taxis are available, which makes Trevor even angrier. After speaking with Tang, you can enter the bar and kill everyone inside without failing the mission. This mission also has a unique feature: you can't gain any wanted levels. This means you can wreak havoc in the streets, steal a helicopter, grab a car, or blow everything up without worrying about the cops. However, this only works in the later versions of the game. It's not possible in the PS3 and Xbox 360 versions. Additionally, during this mission, you can enter Fort Zancudo and steal military vehicles without consequences, but again, this feature is exclusive to the updated versions of the game. In the mission Friends Reunited, while Trevor is on his way to Los Santos with Wade, he recounts how he met Michael and how they became friends. To avoid making it too obvious that he's talking about himself and Michael, Trevor changes their names in the story, calling Michael Michelle and himself Trisha, among other variations. He even describes Michael and Amanda as trolls. It's a wild but interesting narrative that highlights Trevor's creative and somewhat twisted storytelling.
About that boy, Trisha? Ah, yeah. Where were we? Right. So, this kid, he could fly planes. So, he signed up for the Air Force to fly all day long and bomb villages and maybe, just maybe, drop the nuke. And it was all going well until one day, just before he got his wings, an evil witch in charge of psychological evaluations told him he was unstable and grounded him for life. That's terrible. It was. Sent him into a deep pit of doubt, despair. And just then, just as he hit rock bottom, he met a fat, silver-tongued troll under a bridge. That's cool. What was the troll's name? Michelle. A lady troll? Yeah, he had tits like one, but no, he was a boy. Michelle is a funny name for a boy. Well, this was a funny boy. He sat under his bridge, robbing anyone who passed him by. Sometimes he'd go into town and rob the shops and inns and such. And he persuaded our hero that maybe he should rob people too. And you know what? Little Trisha did rob people, and little Trisha was good at it.
After completing this mission, you can make Trevor and Franklin meet even before their official introduction in the storyline. While there are no programmed interactions between the two, if one attacks the other, either Trevor attacking Franklin or vice versa, they'll engage in a shootout and one of them will end up killing the other. However, this doesn't impact the progression of the story at all. Moving on to the mission Fame or Shame, there's an intriguing quirk. If you kill Michael right at the beginning of the mission, which starts automatically, you can make Michael and Trevor meet before the point where it's supposed to happen in the storyline. However, their interaction is non-existent. Even though they already know each other in the story, you can't attack or meaningfully interact with the other character, unlike the shootout possibility when Trevor and Franklin meet earlier. If you switch to Michael after he has respawned at the hospital, the game forces him to be transported to the mission's starting point, ensuring the storyline continues seamlessly. In this same mission, we come across an interesting figure, Laszlo Jones. For those who might not know, Laszlo is one of the few characters who transitioned from the 3D universe to the HD universe. He was known as a radio host and commentator in games like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Now, besides maintaining his presence on the radio with his programs and commentary, he makes a physical appearance in GTA 5, which is a rare occurrence. The same applies to Chris Formage, who was previously heard on GTA San Andreas radio, promoting his cult. In GTA 5, he makes a physical appearance, further enriching the game's universe by tying together characters from different generations. Let's pick up right where we left off last time. Now we're moving on to the mission Dead Man Walking. In this mission, Michael gets knocked out by Dave and strangely enough wakes up at the exact moment they're about to open his body. Like, how does he manage to fake being dead so convincingly? Honestly, it's hard to understand how this part of the mission works. It feels like they kind of threw it together without much thought. If you don't press the button to wake up in time, you'll actually die as the saw or knife slices into him. That's weird too, since realistically Michael should automatically wake up once he's being cut open, allowing the mission to continue but with a bit more blood. It's one of those details that doesn't make a lot of sense.
John Doe, white male, overweight, in his late 40s, possible coroner.
Let's take a peek. The fat deposits on his hips and abdomen suggest a fondness for bleeder burgers.
We're probably about to find one in his gut, still in its wrapper.
Right next to the bottle of scotch and pack of redwoods. See the broken capillaries around the nose?
Alcoholic.
I wouldn't take any bets on the state of the liver.
We still think 40s?
Takes a toll.
He's an advert for clean living.
Note the discoloration of the teeth and the fingers.
Smoker.
Pack a day, I'd say. Probably cigars, too.
I was going like there was no tomorrow.
He's got that right. Some people think they're immortal.
Till you get chest pains pumping away at your mistress.
Lucky girl having this thing on top of her, huh?
She was probably relieved when he bought it.
Awkward conversation with the spouse. Might have got some hush money.
It's a win-win.
Only losers are the chumps who gotta cut him open to rule cause of death. Get ready with the bone saw and the rib spreader. You might want to hold your nose.
Another odd thing about this mission is that after strangling the doctors and Michael waking up, he immediately calls Dave. But why the heck would a cell phone be left with a supposed corpse instead of being stored in another room with his belongings, like his weapons? Seriously strange and confusing stuff in this mission, guys. The next mission I'll talk about is Three's Company. This is the mission where all three protagonists appear together for the first time. It's also when Trevor and Franklin officially meet. Interestingly, if Trevor and Franklin encounter each other before this mission, there won't be any meaningful interaction between them, just a shootout if you force the situation. An interesting detail here is that the agent interrogating Mr. K is Michelle from GTA 4. Yes, she was Nico Bellic's girlfriend. It seems she's climbed the career ladder quite a bit and is now an important operative within the agency. After completing the mission, Trevor takes the helicopter as his form of payment. He mentions this a few times during the game, confirming it to other characters, though it's something many players might not have noticed. Lastly, if you don't press the button in time to break the window during the mission, the agents will spot you from outside, causing the mission to fail. I always thought that if they saw you, the mission would continue in some other way, like a twist or something, but unfortunately that's not the case. Now onto the mission by the book, which has some curious and bizarre details. If you start the mission as Michael and arrive at the location, you'll find Trevor literally taking a dump behind the trash. And if you're brave enough to check it out, you'll actually find poop on the ground, gross but realistic in a way. For players who aren't fans of torturing people and want to skip as much of it as possible, there's an interesting way to resolve the mission. After torturing Mr. K the first time, you can shoot the correct target right away, even before Mr. K identifies them.
It's full of weak chins. Place is famous.
What the hell?
That was the guy. I had a feeling.
The mission won't fail because Michael justifies his actions by saying he had a hunch, and Dave will accept it without issue. Another fun fact, no matter how many teeth you pull from Mr. K, the dialogues will proceed as if you only pulled one. So in the end, it doesn't really matter how aggressive you are in this part. In the mission Hood Safari, when you arrive at Grove Street, there's a clear reference to GTA San Andreas. Most of the time, you'll spot a group of NPCs dressed like CJ, Ryder, and Sweet, along with BMX bikes, which are a direct nod to the beginning of San Andreas. It's a cool little Easter egg for fans of the series. As the mission progresses to the jet ski robbery, you encounter MC Clip. Whether you kill him or not is optional, and your choice alters the dialogue during the mission. However, even if you decide not to kill him, the internet news in GTA 5 later reports that he died, although the cause of death isn't clearly explained. If you've noticed or discovered more about this, drop it in the comments. It's always good to share more info. If the mission is completed with Trevor, he'll ask Lamar a funny question about whether he's now part of the family since he helped Lamar and Franklin fight off the Ballas in their territory.
Fast criminal conspiracy or some shit. They just want to hit you with that RICO charge.
So, am I like families now?
Nah, homie. You just a weird, crazy dude.
If you finish the mission with Franklin, he and Lamar have a conversation about the whereabouts of the old leaders of Grove Street, directly referencing CJ and Sweet. They speculate about where they might be now, though nothing concrete comes from their discussion.
Hey, you know Grove Street used to be family hood.
Grove Street family? Man, long time ago.
Man, what happened to them dudes?
Shit, I don't know. Could be dead. Shit, or could be CEOs by now.
Fool? Or probably living in some suburb somewhere driving SUVs and shit, you know, soccer moms and shit, coaching Little League football team.
Yeah, the suburban flight, huh? Probably so.
That's gonna be me and you one day, dawg.
If we lucky, man. Shit, at the moment, it looks like we gonna end up the other direction.
As for the mission, did somebody say yoga? Ironically, even though it's supposed to be a mission focused on relaxation, it has the highest number of swear words and insults of any mission in the game, with at least 29 curse words, possibly more depending on the language you're playing in. If you use a mod to teleport to Michael's house before Jimmy drugs him, the mission will glitch. Nothing progresses, and it doesn't fail either, leaving the game stuck in a limbo state. This happens because the mission is programmed to continue only after Michael is drugged. Now let's dive into the fun facts about the mission Blitz play. The scene where the truck sideswipes the armored car and flips it over is a direct reference to the movie Heat. The entire mission shares several similarities with the film, including the masks worn by the robbers, which can also be purchased in the game and closely resemble those from the movie. This specific scene sparked quite a bit of discussion among fans since it was heavily featured in trailers and promotional materials. Many players believed the game would feature fully destructible environments, which raised expectations sky high, especially with how the armored car is toppled in the cinematic. Unfortunately, the in-game mechanics don't match this level of destruction. The police's exaggerated response during this mission also stood out. The sheer number of reinforcements sent seems completely over the top for a simple armored truck robbery. This doesn't usually happen in random events or other parts of the game. It creates a vibe similar to the Paleto Bay heist, where the police response is absurdly excessive, suggesting that the cargo inside the armored truck might be far more valuable than hinted at. In the mission I Fought the Law, when Franklin and the two racers speed past Michael and Trevor, they're eating donuts and immediately drop them to start the chase. This is a clear nod to GTA San Andreas, specifically the mission Reuniting the Family. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. In that mission, cops chasing CJ do the exact same thing. A camera angle even shows them dropping their donuts to begin the pursuit. During this mission, while chasing the vehicles as Michael or Trevor, your wanted level is locked. This means you can cause as much chaos as you want without worrying about attracting the police. It's a good opportunity to go wild. In the mission Eye in the Sky, there's a bug you can exploit to get the Z-Type car for free. After retrieving Chad Mulligan's car in the parking lot, take it to Franklin's house. Once you arrive at Franklin's house, drive the car into the garage, exit the car, and walk to the street so the garage door closes. After that, return to the garage, get back in the car, drive it out of the garage and leave it on the street. Then move far enough away for the mission to fail due to vehicle abandonment. When the mission fails, select the option to quit the mission and head straight to the police impound lot. At the impound lot, simply pay the $250 fee and that's it. You'll have a $10 million car. The owner of the Z-Type, he'll call the police, giving you a wanted level. But if you do kill him, you can proceed without any trouble since no one reports the car theft. If you listen to all the conversations in the area, you'll hear a man who seems to be a follower of Lord Zaffo. He's sleeping and gets startled awake when Shelby Mulligan passes by. Shelby even calls him a bum or something similar, making for a rather peculiar moment in the mission. If you finish the mission...
Zaffo! Zaffo! Other glass! My glass! Oh, Lord Zaffo! Oh, Lord!
If you finish the mission and switch directly to Trevor, you'll find him in a police helicopter, casually commenting on a very smooth landing. This implies he got rid of the pilot, as there's no sign of them inside the helicopter. In the mission Caida Libre, this is one of the few missions where the title remains in Spanish, regardless of the selected language. Whether you set the game to Portuguese, English, or Spanish, the title stays as Caida Libre. It's an interesting detail, especially since most mission names are translated into the respective languages. In the beta version of the game, it wasn't supposed to be Trevor chasing the plane on a motorcycle, it was Franklin. In fact, Rockstar released a promotional photo showing this. You can tell it's Franklin by the outfit he's wearing, as that specific clothing isn't even available for Trevor. If this change had stayed in the final version, it likely would have shifted the entire story. For example, Madrazo's wife might not have been kidnapped, or if she had, it would have happened in a completely different mission unrelated to Madrazo's refusal to pay. The mission Minor Turbulence has some inconsistencies, like the fact that Trevor couldn't realistically land the plane at the Mackenzie airfield, which was his initial goal. The plane is far too large to fit on the runway. The same applies to the Sandy Shores airstrip. It's completely impossible for Trevor to pull off the landing there. If you visit the crash site after the mission, you can pick up some of the weapons that were being transported on the plane. It's not all of them, but you can gather a decent haul underwater. What's even cooler is that these weapons respawn, meaning you can return and collect more. Additionally, the cargo plane used in this mission is only available during this specific mission. You can't store, save, or purchase it for use outside of missions. To use it freely, you'd need to play GTA 5 on PC and use a mod menu to spawn the plane. Another bizarre detail is that if you set the soldiers on fire during this mission, their textures look really strange. It seems like they're burning from the inside out, but not on the outside, creating a weird effect. You can only see this in action, so it's worth bringing some Molotovs, lighting up the soldiers, and watching the odd visuals. If your character dies while on fire during the mission, they'll have the same strange texture, making for an equally surreal sight. Let's start with the mission Predator. In this mission, guys, it's where we can see Bigfoot for the first time. You can even try to shoot at him, but he just vanishes. I've tried looking for him in other ways myself, but it's just not possible, guys. Another fun fact about this mission is that it's the only mission in the game where you can basically play with 4 characters: Trevor, Michael, Franklin, and even Chop. Now, talking about the mission Derailed, one of its trophies references CJ. To earn the Better Than CJ trophy, or actually the completion checkmark, you need to land on the train on your first try. Additionally, this is the only mission in the game where you can control a train. Outside of this mission, trains are completely inaccessible and uncontrollable, as there's no way to operate them. A curious detail about this mission is that Trevor seems almost immortal, or at least the mission feels pretty overpowered. That's because during the cutscene when he jumps off the train, he doesn't die. However, if you try to do the same thing during normal gameplay, Trevor will end up dying. In my opinion, it doesn't make much sense, especially considering the beginning of the scene where parts of the train are falling, which is way more dangerous. Additionally, if you manage to win the race with Michael, who's driving a car, which is much harder than winning with Trevor, who's on a bike, Michael will mock Trevor at the end of the mission. Trevor, furious and grumbling, will storm into his HQ visibly irritated. In the mission The Paleto Score, if you choose the hacker Packy McCreary, he'll share his backstory and even talk about Nico Bellic, the protagonist of GTA 4, mentioning the famous bank heist in Liberty City.
What is interesting is my biggest job, the Bank of Liberty City.
Ah, shit, yeah. I heard you were part of the crew that took that down.
I ran the crew. It was me, my brother Derek, God rest his soul, my pal Michael, God rest his soul, and another boy, Nico, who's probably dead too.
They're all dead. Must have been jinxed, huh?
All I know is I live to tell the tale. We went in, my pal Michael gets shot. I take down the hero who did it, then we blow the vault, take the money, and meet half the LCPD coming out. The cops are outside, they're in the street, down the alleys, they're in the subway. We just keep moving and shooting, moving and shooting. Climbed out the subway, found a car, and we were away.
Sounds like you were the right guy to bring along on this. Let's just hope we ain't jinxed as well.
If you choose Norm Richards, you'll witness him die in a brutal way during the mission. Despite this tragic outcome, Michael seems proud of Norm's effort. There's a bug you can exploit to ensure Norm Richards or any other low-level gunman survives. Near the final part of the heist, after destroying the 3 wooden fences, head into the alleyway on the right, exactly where the police vehicle that kills Norm will spawn. Once there, plant several sticky bombs and continue the mission. After the cutscene, the police vehicle will turn to run over Norm Richards. At this point, detonate the sticky bombs to destroy the vehicle. You need to be quick and place the bombs in the right spot. If done correctly, Norm Richards or any other low-tier gunman will survive. It's actually funny because the game isn't programmed for these characters to live, so the dialogue lines regarding the survivor will change as if you had chosen Gustavo Mota or another high-tier gunman. When you arrive at the bank, you leave the van outside, but when you exit the bank, it mysteriously disappears. This forces the crew to escape in another way. This is the mission where we see the largest military and police response in the entire game, even bigger than in the big score, despite the amount stolen being much smaller. I think Rockstar really messed up here because even the military shows up, whereas in larger heists, they don't even make an appearance. Curiously, if you try to escape to another location with the tractor, the mission won't fail and you won't get caught either. You can drive the excavator anywhere in the game without facing any issues, which is, at the very least, quite strange. Fun fact I'm sure many of you didn't know, the Paleto Bay heist was inspired by a real-life shootout. Both the outfits and the intense gunfight, which resulted in multiple casualties and destruction, are reminiscent of the North Hollywood shootout that occurred in 1997. There are videos about it on YouTube and it's worth watching to spot the similarities. It's not 100% identical, but it's pretty close, especially in terms of the advanced weaponry for the time and the tactical gear that allowed the criminals to move and shoot without worrying about getting hit. In the mission deep inside, we have to steal a car belonging to a special agent called the JB-700. For those who didn't catch the reference, JB stands for James Bond, and 700 reversed is 007. This mission is a clear homage to the James Bond films and the 007 franchise. I'll admit it took me a while to notice this, but I think it's genius on Rockstar's part. Another interesting thing about this mission is that typically you're supposed to approach the actor, knock him out, and use his disguise to impersonate him and steal the car. However, this isn't mandatory. You can grab any vehicle or even walk straight to the location, get in, and steal the car. Of course, doing it this way makes the mission much harder because there are several security guards in the studio, but it's still an alternative way to complete it. In the mission Monkey Business, although Franklin appears, he isn't used as a protagonist at any point. Trevor even comments on this, complaining that Franklin took the easy way out by heading straight to the hangar. This mission also reveals an interesting detail. It's the first time we learn that Trevor ripped off or injured Martin Madrazo's ear. This isn't mentioned earlier, not even when he kidnaps Patricia and talks to Michael. He simply says that he and Madrazo had their disagreements. It's in this mission that we truly get a sense of Trevor's level of violence. In the mission Bury the Hatchet, we see a contrast in Rockstar's attention to detail. On one hand, the town hasn't been updated to reflect the passage of time. It looks exactly the same, with the same posters and even the population sign remaining unchanged. On the other hand, this mission is a prime example of Rockstar's ability to craft deep narratives. It presents two different perspectives. The first shows Michael's side, revealing how he had to make a deal to protect his family and pull them out of the criminal world. This helps you understand his perspective, framing the deal not as a betrayal but as the only possible way out, which leads many fans to side with him. However, if you start this mission with Trevor, it takes on a completely different tone, focused entirely on betrayal. From this perspective, we see Trevor utterly furious with what Michael did, and the only thing he cares about is finding out whether Michael was truly a traitor, going so far as to let Brad be buried in his place. This suggests that Michael may have known the heist was a setup from the start, or even orchestrated it himself. Depending on how you approach this mission, you can see completely different perspectives. In one, you might believe Michael truly deserves forgiveness for what he did. In another, it might seem like he deserves to die, as Trevor implies when leaving him to fend for himself in fresh meat. It's really sinister, guys, and to this day some fans are still undecided about which side is truly right. An important detail about this mission is that even after 9 years, Brad's body remains completely recognizable. This is likely because he's buried in a very cold place, which slows down decomposition. There are real-life locations where this happens, and in some extremely cold villages, it's even prohibited to bury people who died from contagious diseases. Since the bodies don't decompose, traces of the virus can still be present. It's pretty eerie. Another curious point about this mission is that when exploring the city of North Yankton, you'll notice it feels quite incomplete. Many elements seem to be missing, and I believe this is due to the storage limitations of GTA 5's original release, especially on the Xbox 360. Back then, the game required an additional disc and a USB drive to run, highlighting the storage constraints. This likely forced Rockstar to make the city simpler and less detailed. However, with the newer consoles, I think this is something they should have addressed. Finally, if you deviate from the script at any point during this mission, it will immediately fail. This highlights how the mission was designed to be highly linear, leaving no room for improvisation by the player and, unfortunately, no opportunity for exploration. In the mission Fresh Meat, if you flee the mission area without eliminating the remaining Triad members, the game might freeze and crash, forcing you to restart it. I have no idea why this happens, but it seems to be a peculiar bug. Additionally, you can shoot the triad member standing next to Michael, knocking him into the meat grinder. Strangely enough, he'll keep screaming even after being shot in the head, which seems to be a glitch in the game. This mission is one of the most brutal in GTA 5, featuring several violent deaths, such as people falling into meat grinders, hot oil, and possibly even acid. It's definitely an intense mission, and you need to have a strong stomach for it because, my friend, there's a lot of death. In the mission Reuniting the Family, you have to bring Jimmy, Tracy, and Amanda back together. If you use completely random vehicles like a garbage truck, they'll all get in without making any comments about your choice, creating a funny and surreal scene. During this mission, we also learned that Amanda had multiple extramarital affairs involving the tennis coach, the yoga instructor, Jimmy's teacher, and even the therapist. It's a moment where her past comes to light, and it's shocking to see how both Michael and Amanda have such a troubled relationship.
We gotta work at fixing it.
We do. All of us.
Yes, Mom.
For real, peeps.
Because I started to understand something in there. No one else gets this family. Not Dr. Friedlander, or my yoga teacher, or our tennis coach, or the juice guy, or the dog walker.
Oh, hey.
Or Jimmy's third grade teacher.
Or the trash guy.
Or Dad's proctologist.
Or the guy that thinks he's Jesus on Vespucci Beach.
Or the hippie bum who thinks the world is ending.
We're stuck with each other.
Something peculiar is that, from the start of the session at Dr. Friedlander's office, the discussion focuses exclusively on Michael and Amanda. The doctor remains silent for most of the time, only speaking at the end to wrap up the session and inform them that he'll charge 4 times the usual fee due to the intensity of the argument. It's a scene that highlights the troubled relationship between the two and also proves how much the doctor was just in it for the money. I also heard that after this mission, Laszlo mentions on the Fame or Shame show that Tracy is one of the best contestants, but the judges didn't agree with him. At that moment, Laszlo supposedly makes a live plea for Michael not to kill him, begging for his life.
That was fantastic! I mean, amazing, especially the ho-ho-oh part. I'm really from the heart. Judges, I have to say, I'm thinking if you go the wrong way on this, it could be the end of a lot of promising careers. All right, we're gonna go to commercials and we'll come back with the judge's decision. Seriously, guys, vote the right way, because a maniac's gonna fucking kill me.
The all-new... Finally, in the mission Meltdown, we discover that Michael's house is the only one in the game with internal destruction textures. This is likely because during this mission, a full-blown battle takes place inside the house, making it impossible for it to remain intact. After the mission, you can call Devin to discuss what happened. Devin blames Molly for the events, mentioning that both she and he were involved in something related to women. This interaction adds more context to the storyline and highlights the complexities of Devin's involvement with Michael and his family.
Hey, you missed the show, buddy. Trouble at home?
You came for my family, asshole?
Oh, I thought going after women was fair game.
Molly died in an accident while following your orders, and I'm sorry for that, okay?
Well, accidents happen, don't they?
Hey, send your private army after me if you have to, pal. I won't be hiding.
The first mission we're going to talk about is the wrap-up. This is the only mission in the game where we can see a body part being blown off by gunfire. Specifically, I'm talking about the shot Agent Sanchez takes from Steve Haynes after betraying him. Even though it leaves a huge hole in Sanchez's head, his face stays completely intact, as if he never got shot, which obviously doesn't make any sense, guys. Another interesting detail is the shot Steve Haynes takes in the leg. He gets hit in the exact same leg where he faked a gunshot wound during the mission monkey business. For those who don't remember, at the end of that mission, Steve shoots himself in the leg to buy some time and pretends to be a double agent. When he gets shot in the wrap-up, he even mentions that it's the same leg, something most people probably didn't notice. In this mission, it's also possible to kill Agent ULP. However, his death isn't canon, as he later shows up in the GTA Online DLCs. Now let's talk about the Bureau Raid. In this mission, there's a setup mission where you're supposed to follow an architect through a construction site, take him down at the top, and grab his briefcase. However, what many people don't know is that you can simply shoot him and take the briefcase and the mission won't fail, making everything much faster. Of course, this will give you a 3-star wanted level, but escaping the cops is super easy and it'll save you a ton of time. It's definitely worth trying. If you choose the firefighter option for the heist, you can bump into TVs inside the building's rooms. Behind the FIB logo, you'll see the name Kiflon, suggesting that the Epsilon program has infiltrated the FIB. There's also a theory that the FIB building had way more explosives or flammable materials in the room where the explosion happens. This is because the 2 sticky bombs you place in the firefighter option trigger a massive chain of explosions, implying there was something else amplifying the damage. It's pretty wild considering it's almost impossible for just 2 bombs to take out the entire place like that. If you choose the rooftop option and hire an inexperienced, low-skilled driver, you'll have to escape a 4-star wanted level, making the mission's ending much more intense with heavy shootouts. However, if you hire a skilled driver, they'll show up with an ambulance, allowing you to escape without attracting any attention. It's interesting that while most players prefer hiring the best crew, choosing a bad driver makes the mission's finale a lot more thrilling. Now, about the mission legal trouble. In it, Molly takes the last copy of the movie Meltdown to prevent its release. Michael chases after her and Molly ends up in a fatal accident. So far, so good. The funny part is that after all of this, Michael finds out that wasn't actually the last copy of the movie. Solomon calls him and reveals they have digital backups and the release will happen anyway, making Molly's death completely pointless. She literally died for nothing. Pretty crazy, right?
I loved you once, Tony, but there's nothing between us. Now that I know you prefer dictation.
Really? We're doing this now? I just watched Devin Weston's legal counsel get juiced in a jet engine.
Oh, that Molly woman? Oh, Lord, that's horrible.
You have no idea. She panicked, went crazy, and ran into it. But I saved the print, so we still got our movie.
You believe that analog thing? It's all digital. We have backups everywhere. I mean, we're shooting on green screen.
Well, you could have told me.
I'm sorry. Look, I thought you knew. The edit's nearly done, and we've got to get it out before they can screw us again.
This mission also has a unique feature. The airplane traffic on the runway is completely unusual. During the mission, you can see planes landing and taking off at a much higher frequency than in regular gameplay. This was clearly done to make the mission more exciting and dynamic, but it's a noticeable difference compared to the usual air traffic behavior in the game. It even brings back memories of the older versions of the game, like on the PlayStation 3, where airplane traffic used to be more frequent. During the chase, you can see a plane on fire. To clarify, there wasn't any accident there. It's actually a training area for the fire department, similar to what also exists in GTA Vice City. In Vice City, there was a building with burn marks that many players thought was a site where multiple people had died, but it was actually a firefighter training facility. And here's something I'm sure many of you didn't know. Even if you use a mod or glitch to get ahead of Molly near the plane, the outcome of the mission doesn't change. Molly will still get sucked into the airplane turbine no matter what, and the mission won't fail. Even if you stand right next to her, the scripted cutscene will play out, showing that the turbine wasn't actually pulling anything in. The scene was entirely programmed for her to throw herself into the turbine and die no matter what she does. It's wild. In the mission Lamar Down, there's a detail that went unnoticed by many people, even by me, until I came across this information while researching Curiosities online. There's a continuity error in the mission's cutscene. When we see Lamar being taken by the ballast through the binoculars, he's wearing his usual outfit, jeans, and a green shirt. However, when we finally find him after taking down most of the enemies, he's suddenly wearing a black shirt and beige pants. This outfit change is never explained, and it seems to be a design error in the mission. Even 10 years later, people are still finding mistakes in the game. It's incredible. Another interesting detail is that after rescuing Lamar, while driving back with him and Franklin, if you hit a police car, Lamar will start shooting at the cops for no apparent reason. This instantly raises your wanted level significantly, which can make finishing the mission more challenging. Now, talking about the big score and the subtle approach, there's a curious fact. No matter what you do, you'll always end up $300,000 short. That's because Michael pays Casey to help with the heist and keep quiet. Another interesting detail is that in this same strategy, the ID card Trevor uses for identification not only has a photo that doesn't match his face, but is also expired. This raises a question. Did the bank manager realize they were robbers but chose not to react out of fear, or was it just a game oversight? Additionally, another question comes up. If it wasn't a mistake, why did Lester prepare an ID that was already expired? If you hire a poor, inexperienced driver for this heist, they'll get stuck during the final escape, causing you to lose 25% of the total money you earned. However, there's a trick. If you quickly blow up the police cars around them, they'll manage to escape, and the mission won't fail. Although they won't join you in the final truck, the driver still delivers the money later. This suggests that they successfully lost the cops and brought the gold bars directly to Lester. Now, about the loud approach, this is the only heist in the game where we see Lester actually in action. He takes down 2 helicopters with a rocket launcher while being in another helicopter midair. This impressed a lot of players since many thought he wasn't capable of pulling off such bold moves. It's an epic scene. If you hire a poor, inexperienced driver to pilot the second helicopter, they'll be shot down by Merryweather, causing you to lose $100 million from the heist. Unlike the first tactic, this loss is irreversible, so be careful when choosing your pilot, as it could cost you a huge amount of money. At the end of this mission, we see that Trevor is still deeply hurt by Michael. When Michael is celebrating and goes in for a hug, Trevor blocks him and refuses to let it happen. Another difference in the maximum profit you can make from this final heist between the two approaches is nearly $10 million per character, making the loud option much more appealing. Personally, I prefer the first option. I find it much more well crafted and engaging. However, since the crew is larger, you end up spending more money, leaving less for the protagonists in the end. So it really depends on what you think is best, guys. Let's talk about the deaths of the characters in order. First, let's discuss Trevor's death. In this mission, Franklin seems far more determined to kill Trevor compared to the mission to kill Michael. When Trevor arrives, Franklin already looks angry, holding his gun, and immediately starts making threats. At the end of this mission, Trevor's money is split between Michael and Franklin because supposedly Lester couldn't locate Trevor and has no suspicions at that point. If you don't shoot Trevor within about 20 seconds while he's on the ground, Michael will pull out his gun and shoot him himself. Even though Michael arrives at this mission driving a blue car that ends up exploding when it hits Trevor, we see him leaving in his regular car at the end of the mission. It's a strange inconsistency that doesn't make any sense, considering Michael arrived in the blue car, not his own. So who left his car there, or how did he know exactly where they were headed? Now let's move on to Michael's death. In this mission, even if you press the button to try and save him, you won't be able to. Michael will headbutt Franklin and throw himself to his death. At the end of this mission, Lester is already suspicious. Unlike Trevor's case, Michael's money isn't split between Franklin and Trevor. Instead, it's entirely transferred to Michael's family. Even if you shoot Michael multiple times, he won't die. He's essentially in an immortal limbo, meaning the game forces you to reach the end of the mission to watch the final cutscene. Killing him earlier simply isn't possible. Here's one I think almost nobody noticed. At the end of this mission, Franklin calls Lamar, and Lamar says a phrase about betrayal that's very similar to what Michael told Franklin, almost like a wise man's words. One day, your legs give out, and you can't walk anymore. Michael says this line to Franklin after being rescued in the Fresh Meat mission, when he explains what happened in North Yankton early in the story.
Look, you wake up one day, and your legs, they just give. You just can't run anymore.
All right, man, look. You watch your back, all right? You just start running and shit, then all of a sudden your legs give and you just can't run no more. Anyway, man.
Without a doubt, very few people picked up on this parallel. The last curiosity about Michael's death is that immediately after his death, his house is put up for sale, even before anyone contacts you about it. A lot of things change after Michael and Trevor's deaths. The house is suddenly listed for sale, and none of Michael's family members can be found anymore. Last but not least, we have Option C. After Franklin picks up Lamar to help with the Option C mission, there's a strange detail. After the shootout where you save Lamar, he simply disappears. It's unclear how he got home since he arrived with Franklin in the first place. The only way to confirm he's alive is when Franklin calls him after the mission, giving us that reassurance. Although many players, including me, thought it was necessary to kill Steve Haynes with a sniper, it's not the only way. A well-aimed RPG shot also does the job, and it even triggers a slightly different cutscene. It's possible to reach Devin Weston without alerting any guards. All you need is a sniper rifle with a silencer. Take them out one by one without being noticed. When you reach Devin, he'll be startled and run straight into the trunk of the car. With all the guards eliminated, the cutscene will play out as usual. In this mission, we end up killing Stretch, which Michael actually considers unnecessary. He only goes along with it to supposedly satisfy Trevor's thirst for blood. However, Stretch's death is actually 100% necessary. If you don't kill him, like in option A or B where Trevor or Michael dies, Stretch keeps an eye on Lamar throughout the game. As a result, you can't hang out with Lamar during the day anymore, only at night because he's constantly hiding from Stretch. When we kill Wei Cheng, it's also possible to kill his son, Tao Cheng. However, Tao's death is not canon as we see him alive in GTA Online DLCs. At the end of the mission, there's a unique moment where we control all three protagonists at once. This happens when you push the car with Devin Weston in it. Even though the character selection menu shows that you're controlling Trevor, when you actually start moving, it feels like you're using all three characters simultaneously. I thought this was a really cool touch for a finale, being able to control all three protagonists in unison. And that's it, everyone. This was the compilation of all 5 fun fact videos, adding up to over 130 incredible GTA 5 facts. If you watched this far, you've definitely already beaten the game. By clicking the yellow arrow, you can check out all the awesome stuff you can do after beating GTA 5. It's too good to miss, guys. So yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. Take care and bye.